Okay, it's the appointed hour, and I'm going to call the October 26th meeting of the Christiansburg Street Committee to order. And if there are no objections from anybody, Mr. Bishop, we'll turn it over to Mr. Warren.
Very good. And really the only item on the agenda this evening, I was hoping to have at least one subdivision that was not ready to bring to you this evening. We will probably have several for each of the November meeting and the November 9th and then the December 14th meeting.
Okay.
So that I will, let's see, let's go to, close up this for a second. Okay. And Michael, I'll go ahead and just turn it over to you.
Okay, no, that's fine. A couple of weeks ago, we had a constituent named Donna Smith contact us, and she had some concerns about some brush that was kind of growing up in the right-of-way right there on Craig Street. She had a drainage thing she wanted to bring to us, but I think her primary concern was about the speed of vehicles whipping around Craig Street and onto High Street and making that turn right there at a higher rate of speed, and just speculating that they may be coming around it fast enough that they may be drifting a little bit, you know, off the edge of pavement. You can see in the photo there's a pretty wide paved area in the right-of-way and outside of the right-of-way where those rental units park right there. So Sam in the engineering department put together two options for the committee to consider here this evening. Option one would establish High Street as a major street and the intersection of Craig Street north of High Street as a minor. Additional signage and pavement marking would alert drivers to the sharp turn. So, and that would present a stop condition if you are southbound on Craig Street north of High Street. So that would be posted with a no outlet. We put the METCD regulatory turn ahead warning signs and the double yellow stripe in the center. So that would be option number one. Option number two would establish a T intersection with Craig Street as the major street and High Street as a minor street. Enforcement of stop sign, this is for your benefit, Chief, may be somewhat difficult there. You know, the prevailing traffic is, you know, muscle memory is there's no stop sign there. So it may take a while for people to get acclimated to it. This was the second option for consideration, but this would be creating a T intersection and treating Craig Street as the major artery, if you will. So that's what we wanted to present to Street Committee tonight for your consideration. I was hoping that Ms. Smith would be here tonight, so you could hear firsthand the concern from
Mike had reached out to her and she had, you know, expressed an interest in coming this evening.
Do you have a recommendation, Mr. Kelly?
Engineering is fine with either option. I think that option number one, I think the yellow striping and the warning signs alone could have an impact on drivers' behavior and would be, I think that would be my preferred option. You tend not to want to install stop signs as traffic calming devices.
We've learned that, yes.
So if I had a preference, I think I would opt for this option, option number one. Option number two would definitely, and everything is within the METCD. I don't want to present any kind of thought that there is anything here that's not standard practice. You definitely have T intersections, you know, all over the town of Christiansburg and all over, you know, multiple jurisdictions. But I think option number one would be enough at this point to get the motoring public's attention and give them some kind of advance notice that there's a turn coming up. And the double yellow in the turn, I think, would draw people's attention to the fact that it is a curve and that their turning radius is tighter than what they may think it is right there. And I think that may lend itself to slowing people down.
All right, that stop sign that's on Craig, is that on the dead end?
That is on the dead
That's on
end.
the dead
Yes, sir.
end?
Yes, sir.
That's what it was.
Well, those are my thoughts as well. Before you gave your recommendation, I didn't want to embarrass myself and, well, no, really, but that's the predominant or prevailing movement there, or the main line, as it were, and then
It is.
Craig is really the connector. But if you've been out, and you also visited the site, correct?
Yes.
I concur with your preferred alternative there. Mr. Bishop?
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I drive that road every other day.
Oh, do you really? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, especially, yeah, I do, because I
Okay,
have
yeah.
friends that live in that area.
Yeah.
And it is, I think you said to put a stop sign on High Street. I'll probably one that runs that stop sign. Chief, you can hear me say, I mean, you're not used to it being there.
Well, and this is the historical movement.
Yeah.
The historical movement is not north and south on Craig Street. The historical movement is north and, is north and east and west at the intersection of those two. So in that also, option number one also would be consistent with not necessarily using a stop sign as a traffic calming measure. That in itself can introduce more conflicting movement, and you could potentially have more accidents. And I think the double yellow also delineates for people there what the movement is and who would have to yield, what vehicle would have to yield to the others as they approach that configuration.
And it gives the positive guidance that we've used and has been very effective in other, strategic applications that we've done. And I think it also gives law enforcement what they would need if people are, cutting the corner there. But I think it gives a positive guidance and will have a net, pretty good effect on that.
We'd also talked about, sometimes on major arteries, you'll see a speed limit below that type of sign also. I'm not sure that that's completely necessary at this point. Basically, the speed limit is 25. I don't think you can take that turn at 25. I wouldn't recommend taking it at 25. But if it continues, that is a second alternative that we've kind of just put in our hip pocket, that we could go out there and determine what that speed would be. Let's say it's 20.
Get a ball bank indicator and sort of pick that and see what that tells you.
And see if we could calculate what that speed would be. And then if this doesn't have the effect we desire, then there's some additional.
And this is slightly before your time, but didn't we not, or Mr. Wingfield's here, didn't we do that on Robin? Very similar type thing on that?
Sorry, I guess yes, we did. Curve,
Yeah.
paint the curve, yes, we
I
did.
think it's several, that's probably one of the more recent ones we've done at Robin, and we haven't heard any more problems after we did that.
I just wanted to show Randy what the second option was we had opted to put a stop sign and make Craig Street the main movement.
Yes.
Councilman Sykes asked what my preference would be, what my opinion was. You tend not to use stop signs as traffic calming. I think that the striping and the signage hopefully will have the desired effect here. So just wanted to share that.
Well, once again, your efforts are appreciated to respond to citizen inquiry and to do your homework, and both of them are, solid recommendations, and I think your recommendation is going to be a good improvement out there.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
And somebody will contact the lady and tell her what we decided to do.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah, follow up
Yes.
with her.
Yes.
Where does the citizen live, just out of interest?
I believe she lives in the unit, is that six? The brown roof right there. I think she is in that
Right in the
unit.
corner, okay, so,
Right.
yeah, so she's,
Yeah, I think she's in that unit right
Oh,
there.
that one, so she sees the headlights and sees the action right there in the intersection.
I believe
Is
so.
that the right one?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Well, good homework, good homework, and, good analysis and great recommendation. Thank you.
Very good. You're welcome, sir.
Is that it?
That's the only item
Okay,
we had.
because the
Yeah,
other fell through.
right, right.
Okay.
What day have
We don't have any outstanding items that,
elementary school or something like that?
We do,
I'll keep a running list, but do we have any?
the chief has run a couple speed studies
Right.
for different places
Mhm.
around town where there's been a cost, and at this point, we don't really have anything to bring to, to the street committee for recommendation.
Okay.
There was one on Scattergood Drive, that was made by, the childcare facility
Mhm.
there, and, the numbers really are not showing that there's a speeding issue. It's something that we did want to talk about internally with staff to see if there's any other things that, that we could do just to make, because it is a mix of uses through there,
Mhm.
to make people aware, that,
Right.
that there's people dropping off children, and there's people that, are heading to work down the street, or, driving the truck, with the dumpster on the back of it, so
Mhm.
there's a lot of different types of uses happening there.
Okay, may I bring up, we're being recorded here, which is great. Can I bring up an old business item?
Sure.
Am I allowed to do that?
Sure.
So, probably several weeks ago, I got another email from a citizen in the Allegheny Miller Street area. It's Mr. Bauer. And then Marissa Sachs had heard from another citizen in that area. And it's, this goes back at least 10 years about, traffic calming and speeds and, shifting patterns. And I guess just as a quick couple-minute discussion, because we got the A-team here. Generally speaking, if we had to paint with a 4-inch paintbrush on this issue, generally speaking, my perception has been it's sort of like the old Dr. Doolittle animal, the push me, pull you, where you tighten up on one street and they go up to Elliott and it's sort of back and forth. And I don't know, as a general discussion, does anyone here that's in the day-to-day perceive any major issues or concerns out there with where we're at now? Because we've tried so many different things out there. And I can't even think of, we've done speed tables, we've done stop signs, I think we've posted for trucks, I think. But just as a general discussion.
Increased fine for speeding on, Allegheny Miller.
But my general response is that we understand and we've done what we can do, but if we over-restrict one, it tends to affect the neighbors. Is that a true statement?
To some degree, yes.
To some degree. So is there anything more that you think that we could do to sort of discourage, is probably the best way to put it, discourage through traffic?
Our traffic calming document basically provides that physical measures, we survey the neighborhood.
Right, okay, we're back to that where you have to get the 50%.
Yes, and that physical measures though is pretty much that. Things like signage and striping is not considered a physical measure.
Okay.
That's something that's considered an administrative measure. It's actually something that I could authorize or we can bring to the street committee.
Okay.
If we have to do. The physical measures are things like chicanes or speed bumps, speed tables.
Right.
And the increased fine. And state law requires that you survey the neighborhood to do that.
Okay.
We did survey Allegheny and Miller and asked Rob of all the physical measures and the increased fine for speeding, what things would you want to do? And what came back is only the increased fine for speeding. It was a little over the majority. I think it came back as like 55 or 60%. although I think the speed tables came in just a little bit under. It was like maybe 40, 45%, this is kind of off the top of my head, but, it wasn't, drastically off, but it was enough that we didn't do it because the majority of the neighborhood didn't want it. That being said, that was a long time ago. There's probably a few new people in the neighborhood. But, Ellett, we never really did survey the Ellett neighborhood because they really never did push quite as far as Allegheny and Miller, to be honest. And, I think maybe to some degree with the more physical measures of putting in stop signs, because we did put in, I guess, an all-way stop down there, a couple all-way stops at the park, and, also the one on Canaan at Allegheny and Miller. Yeah, there's a stop sign there. On both sides. Actually, that's a four-way stop.
Look at that. Yep. So we've tried several different things.
Yeah, there's a four-way stop just up the, up. Actually, that's not a four-way stop, it's a stop up at the other end. Allegheny and Miller, we put in a stop sign at Canaan and Allegheny. Right there.
Randy, your memory is very good. Did you have a cold? Okay.
So, that wasn't there previously.
Okay, so
there is another stop down at Allegheny and Miller, but I think that stop is already there.
And Mr. Bauer, I think, lives on Miller. Is that right?
Allegheny.
Oh, he lives on Allegheny. Okay.
He lives directly at the intersection where the stop bars are implemented. Before we stop on.
Down the other way. He lives down near South Franklin, like maybe.
He lives at Canaan.
Yes.
Oh.
Right there.
He lives right in there. Okay, I got you. Okay, so other than those comments, have you heard anything more from people recently about speeds or?
I haven't.
And we have a truck limit. We have a weight restriction on which road? I've seen it.
Bring up that weight restriction map. It's under T. Transportation documents.
I don't want to keep us over on a old business item, but,
While he's pulling that up, we implemented the deterrent measures there.
yeah,
I would say that the deterrent measures, although they probably are not the recommended deterrent measures, which are stop signs, but I firmly believe that those deterrent measures have not completely fixed those issues on Allegheny, but it is much better.
okay.
I mean, our speed studies in that area show a major reduction in speed because of those deterrent measures.
Okay, great. Okay.
There will always be speeding. There's no way that you're not going to have speeding in residential neighborhoods, but I think we've reduced that tremendously.
Very good. Thank you. Okay. I think that's good enough. I have seen a truck sign. We don't have increased, do we have increased fines on one of those too?
Allegheny.
Allegheny, yeah.
And we have increased our weight limits on Ellett and Allegheny.
Very good, okay. Is it $250 fine?
I think so.
I think it's something, yeah. Okay. Okay.
Truck restrictions. So it's on Ellett and Allegheny and Miller.
That's what Chief was saying, okay. Well, those are significant. We've taken, over the years, the last 10 years, we've taken, we tried several things, and it's had a positive influence, it sounds like. But those are just two popular pet brews. Okay. Sorry to spring that on you. It's just, I've heard from a couple citizens.
long-term, the extension of, Technology Drive, I guess, in the county industrial park, South Franklin Street would probably help a whole lot.
Providing that direct
That's
connection to
right. Yeah, people
81.
are trying to get out.
Right.
Yeah, right, very good. Is that, that's one of our smart scale apps, or
It's a application, although it's not a smart scale, it's what revenue sharing.
revenue sharing?
I think it's, yes.
That's gonna be a loss. That's an expensive project, probably, yeah.
I think we're likely to get part of it built with development of a couple industrial properties first, at least half of it, and then it would be
Yeah,
maybe a
okay.
doable revenue sharing project
Sort of
or smaller smart scale.
a stone soup project. Everyone contributes a little something.
Mm.
Okay, great. So, thanks. Any other business?
Well, it's no business, I guess it is, it's a thank you, the marking on Depot and Stone Street, it really stands out. I think people, if they can't follow those directions, something's wrong.
Oh, I haven't seen it. Oh, so
Oh,
that's
yes.
been, yeah, you already implemented that.
Oh, yeah, it's been, what, a couple of weeks now?
Fantastic. Okay, great. Okay.
And the striping on Cambria has, it seemed to be pretty well received as
Yes, it
well.
was.
We've heard positive comments from the business owner
Oh, that's
in this
fantastic.
area, so.
Very good. Okay. Well, if there are no other business, we'll conclude, we'll adjourn this meeting.